So your book is called Cheap Cabernet.
It is.
Tying in with the wine.
It is.
It's a memoir.
It is a memoir.
So tell me, writing a memoir, you open yourself up, obviously, to the world, all your, flaws and anything good that's happened, bad that's happened, and you've had a lot of everything, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you decide to go ahead and write the memoir?
Well, my passion has been in literature. My master's degree is in Russian literature and creative writing, so it springs from that. I've been a voracious reader, as a lot of us have. And I had a rather extraordinary experience with a friend about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago. And it seemed to me a sort of catalyst in my life as well as my writing career. And I set out to write a sort of sassy, Thelma and Louise-like memoir of this 4-year friendship that happens to, I think, all women. And everyone, really, they have a cataclysmic relationship that sort of alters how everything else goes. And the memoir actually served, in writing about that relationship, it served as a way to write about a much bigger story about life.
So the friendship that you write about in the book, it takes a lot. I mean, there's ups and downs and way ups and way downs, and you take breaks and you come back to each other. Is that something, could you just talk a little bit more about how that fits into a lot of women's lives, these kind of friendships? Or is this sort of just a 1 in a million kind of thing?
I don't think it's 1 in a million at all, to be honest with you. In my heart, if you live long enough and you see other people's relationships of any sort, there's tumultuous times and there's off-the-hook, poignant times that are really indescribable. Not every relationship we have is that intense, but I think if you live for any length of time, you have that sort of it feels momentous maybe after the fact. Maybe when you're in the thick of it, you're not feeling the sort of pivotal change or the life-changing aspect of the relationship. But I think everybody has that. The story more or less begins when I formed a women's group in Boulder called WOW, Women on the Way. And I just made it up. I'd just come back from living in Russia, and I didn't know anybody. Although I'd gone to graduate school in Boulder, everybody was gone, so this was a year after graduate school and after I'd been in Russia. So I started this group called WOW, and I was deluged with people wanting to get into this made-up group. And so finally I whittled it down to 8 people, and they're in my apartment in Boulder. First night of our first meeting. The startup night was awkward. The strangers gathered in my home wore blank faces and looked about the room for something to happen. I was nervous, aware that WOW was really nothing more than an awkward menagerie of 8 strangers. But I was also unapologetically happy we'd bloomed into a group of 8 real live people. I wondered which one was Denise and how I was going to boot out the woman who arrived last, leisurely so. She reeked of entitlement. We'll go around the circle, I thought, and I'll ask some gentle, guiding questions. Where do you work? Do you have kids? A boyfriend? Out of nervousness, I made a split-second decision to break the ice by opening up with myself. I was out of the country for a while and didn't have anywhere to stay when I came back to the States, I said to the group. So I stopped off in Indiana and stayed with a childhood friend for a while. I just got back to Boulder. The one who arrived late eyeballed me, and I saw that she was itching to say something. But I continued. Before that, I went to Russia for a few months. I've got 2 grown kids. They both live out of state. You've got 2 grown kids? She finally found a way to interrupt. It was that voice. It was Denise. And I looked at her more closely. She was pretty in the way that stubby Catholic girls with thin hair notice. Long legs, a luxurious curly mane, piercing brown eyes. She sat back in her chair, crossed her ankles, and squinted her eyes at me, her face a big question mark. How old are you anyway? She challenged me. I was irritated she'd interrupted me. I also wondered if she asked everyone their age inside of 10 seconds of meeting them. Yes, I said, I turned 38 last month. "Well, how old are your kids?" Ms. Beyond Rude injected again. I reaffirmed my initial conviction that I had no intention of putting up with her beyond that night, despite our easy phone conversation. So to write a story about friendship and how huge it really can often be is really to tell the story of all of our lives and the special relationships that have come through and will continue to come through our lives that change us without us looking for it.